Hey, everybody, this is Dr. William Clark here for Leadership Conversations. This is the show where we talk about leadership according to the world that matters to you. So glad to be back with you in the saddle today and glad that you're joining me today for this podcast. As we've been talking about all week, this is the time of the year where the year's about to wrap up and the Christmas is on its way, Thanksgiving is around the corner, and the new year is quickly approaching. And we're not quite talking about 2020 goals yet. We will get into that. But this podcast over the past couple of sessions has been dedicated to the idea of what it means to focus on closing out the year strong. And, I have said in previous podcasts that have been released this week is that I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to be the one in your ear pushing you to close the year out strong because you have set some goals you wanted to achieve in 2019, and you may feel like you haven't done anything of substance to get there. And so this podcast will serve as your coach on that journey. So I want to address something with you today, and I want to talk quickly about staying the course. You need to stay the course as much as you can. Now, if you're looking at the podcast through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you're looking at a picture of me that was taken almost a year ago. And this picture was taken by a photographer, obviously. And if you're looking at it, you can tell if you compare the picture to what you see on the other side of the screen. I have a head full of hair now, but in the picture, I don't have a head full of hair. In fact, my hair was just starting to grow back this time last year. I suffered from a condition called alopecia areata, and I had it for 2 years where I was bald and patches of my hair was missing. And this particular picture was taken right when my hair started to grow back, and in public, I was allowing my hair to grow. So I cherish this picture, but it is a year old, and it reflects a course that I was on that I decided to change, given the circumstances I was on. And certainly for you, you may not have gone through that, but you may have a situation you were coming out of, and all you could do was stay the course. And so I'm going to encourage you and leave and show you my picture that there is there is there is light at the end of the tunnel for whatever you're going through. All you got to do is stay the course and stay focused. Now, there are three things I want to share with you. And the first thing in terms of staying the course as you close the year out strong is the course you planned may not have worked out, but it had a purpose. Now, we have goals in mind, and I'm sure you set plans in place and you wanted to do things at the beginning of the year, and you had a certain way that you wanted to do it and to see it happen. But what's interesting about life and what's interesting about business is things may not turn out the way you want them to. And while you may have a plan that you wanted to execute, your plan might not have worked out. However, I want you to not be sour and salty about the fact your plan did work out. I want you to take pride in the fact that, number one, you tried something, because that says more than anything else you could have done. You could have been the person that wanted to do a bunch of things but didn't do a thing about anything. So take pride in the fact that you did something. And then number two, as I'm saying here in tip number one, the course you planned may not have worked out, but it did have a purpose. What did you learn from the course that did not work out? What did you learn from the pathway that didn't work? What did you learn from the closed doors that were slammed to your face? What did you learn from not achieving some of your goals? I'm sure you achieved some. What did you learn from the ones you did not achieve? Okay. Now, there's a picture of the first Grant Writing 101 flyer that I created that sold out. I sold out 2 sessions in a row, but they were free, right? And I was so excited. And the interesting thing about this thing being sold out is it gave me some insight into the fact that people actually wanted to hear this content. But then when I showed up, 30% of the people that said they were coming actually showed up. And I learned something. I learned something about that process. I learned something about that journey, and it shaped the rest of 2019 for me as I hosted the rest of the Grant Writing 101 series. And so I ask you, what did you learn from the course that you took that may not have worked out for you? Now, here's step number two. The lessons from the course you are on led to a better outcome. Okay, so maybe you're still on a certain course, you're doing something, but there are lessons you're drawing from it, and it has led to a better outcome than you could have ever expected. There has to be something that you can latch onto and say, you know what? I'm glad I did this. I'm glad that I went through this, and I've learned this from going through that. What is it that you've learned from the journey you're on right now? What outcomes did you generate as a result of things not going your way, but you stayed the course? These are the things that are going to build momentum for you as you jump into 2020. It's the momentum that you're after. It is the process of growth that you're after. And if you're not learning lessons from what you have been through, both good and bad, then what was the point of the journey in the first place? Okay, so if you're looking at the podcast on any a video platform, you can see the Grant Writing 201 course. This was the follow-up to the free course, and I learned some lessons from the course that I offered, and it actually turned out pretty well. Had pretty good attendance, sold a good number of books, had a high quality interaction with the students, and I learned some more about my own journey. I learned some more about the journey of the students that I was teaching. I learned some more about the needs of nonprofits in my own community and how I could add value. So what lessons did you learn from staying the course? And did you get better outcomes as a result of that? So the first thing we talked about is stay the course. The course you planned out may not have worked out, but it had a purpose for sure. Secondly, the lessons from the course you are on led to a better outcome. There has to be something better that came as a result of you staying the course. And here's number 3. Ignore those persons, and put an S on here, ignore those persons who were not present when you made your plans. This is a principal fact, as my grandfather used to say. A principal fact is something that is just true all the way around, through and through. There are so many people who weren't around January 2019 when you were setting your goals. They weren't around February, they weren't around in May, June, and they certainly aren't around now. But these are the people that have something to say about your journey in 2019. Why are you giving attention to people who weren't here in the beginning when you were planning everything out? Why are you giving energy and oxygen to people who weren't contributing to the concepts you were working through, who weren't giving any advice or investing any money in your project? Why are you giving energy to those people? Why do we as humans give energy to people who are haters, people who detract and subtract and distract us? These people, in some cases, may mean well. They truly may mean well, but here's the reality. Their well-meaning behavior actually is standing in the way of our ability to make ongoing progress. And I'm challenging you as you close out the year strong and stay in the course to ignore persons who were not present when you made your plans. If you give them oxygen now, it's going to distract you from checking off those remaining things on your to-do list that will bring you closer and closer to your ultimate goal. On the screen, you're seeing the Grant Writing 301 flyer. This was an amazing course as well. I had an amazing time with students. I learned a lot about the process of sales and marketing as a result of this. A lot of things I've learned from my real estate days and my nonprofit days, I applied to, sharing with this grant writing content with students. And it has been a journey for me going from a free course that was almost done by accident to paid courses that had a long shelf life this year. We hosted Grant Writing 401 and 501 as well. And I stayed the course. And for me, I'm sharing this mini and simple example of what I went through this year alone with you so that you can go on your journey and finish the year out strong. There has to be some momentum that you are generating that will get you closer and closer and closer to your goal. And I'm going to address momentum going into 2020, but you're not going to have momentum if you don't close the year out strong. So stay the course. You see my picture on the screen again. You have a journey. Stay the course. Everybody has a journey and a story. Number 1, the course you planned may not have worked out, but it had a purpose. Yes, it did. Number 2, the lessons from the course you were on led to a better outcome. It sure did. And lastly, ignore those persons who were not present when you made your plans. Ignore the haters. Follow me at drwilliampclark.com. You'll find all my social media platforms there. You can contact me via email and get access to all resources that I've created that can help you finish the year out strong. This is Dr. William Clark for Leadership Conversations. We'll see you in the next show. Peace.